In Gaza, where we witness an unimaginable suffering, children starving, families shattered, a humanitarian catastrophe that shocks the world's conscience. The use of starvation as a weapon of war is immoral and one that defies words. Providing security guarantees to prevent future attacks. Every country, every people have the right to live in security. The hostage must be released immediately. The Palestinian people have also the same right to security and to live in a viable state. A negotiated two-state solution is the only path to peace. Stop this humanitarian catastrophe. Peace in the Middle East requires a collective response, and we need everyone to assume their responsibilities. We must act together and demand the unconditional release of all hostages, an immediate ceasefire, full and unimpeded humanitarian access, an end to illegal settlements, a renewed, credible commitment to a two-state solution, membership in the European Union. In Ukraine, a sovereign nation was brutally attacked by a permanent member of the Security Council, in clear violation of the United Nations Charter, a clear violation of sovereignty, territorial integrity, the respect of internationally recognized borders, and the right to choose its own destiny. To the negotiation table. In their future reconstruction, this aggression threatens not only Ukraine, it threatens every nation in this assembly. If we accept Russia's invasion of Ukraine, no country will ever be safe. Además, la Unión Europea will continue to apply pressure on Russia to end this war. We call for meaningful negotiations and an immediate ceasefire and a just and lasting peace. Millones de euros de aquí hasta 2025. Excelencias, el cambio climático no son fake news. Es un hecho contrastado científicamente que afecta a nuestro presente y a nuestro futuro. La destrucción y los muertos provocados por incendios, inundaciones y huracanes no son invento, son algo muy real. Y hasta 2027, en inversiones sostenibles, the Trade and Investment Agenda, based on fairness, sustainability, digital innovation, labor rights, and climate alignment. Because trade deals, not tariffs, deliver real benefits for all countries, companies, and citizens.
نعلن استعدادنا للعمل مع الرئيس الأمريكي دونالد ترامب ومع المملكة العربية السعودية وفرنسا والأمم المتحدة وجميع الشركاء لتنفيذ خطة السلام التي أقرت في المؤتمر المنعقد في 22 سبتمبر الماضي بما يفتح الطريق نحو سلام عادل وتعاون إقليمي. ورغم كل ما عاناه شعبنا فإننا نرفض ما قامت به حركة حماس في 7 أكتوبر من أعمال استهدفت المدنيين الإسرائيليين وأخذهم رهائن، لأن هذه الأفعال لا تمثل الشعب الفلسطيني ولا نضاله العادل من أجل الحرية والاستقلال. وقد أكدنا وسنظل نؤكد أن قطاع غزة جزء لا يتجزأ من دولة فلسطين، وأننا مستعدون لتحمل كامل المسؤولية عن الحكم والأمن فيه، ولن يكون لحماس دور في الحكم حيث يتوجب عليها وغيرها أيضا من الفصائل تسليم سلاحها للسلطة الوطنية الفلسطينية في إطار عملية التوجه لبناء مؤسسات الدولة الواحدة والقانون الواحد وقوات الأمن الشرعية الواحدة، مجددين التأكيد على أننا لا نريد دولة مسلحة.
Los italianos. Trump no solo deja que caigan misiles contra los jóvenes en el Caribe, no solo encarcela y encadena migrantes, sino que permite que lancen misiles contra niños, jóvenes, mujeres y viejos en Gaza. Se hace cómplice del genocidio porque es genocidio y hay que gritarlo una y otra vez. Este recinto es testigo mudo y cómplice de un genocidio en el mundo de hoy. Yo mismo denuncié con nombre propio a estos políticos. Tener una sola arma para defenderse cuando los narcotráficos no salud pública de la sociedad, sino para la política del poder. Es con una Uniting for Peace para Palestina, conformando una fuerza armada para defender la vida del pueblo palestino. Palabras y armas toca hoy. No son cascos azules, no entrenados y a veces indispuestos para lo que toca. Es un ejército poderoso de los países que no aceptan el genocidio. Por eso invito a las naciones del mundo y a sus pueblos sobre todo, como parte de la humanidad, a unir ejércitos y armas. Hay que liberar a Palestina. Los jóvenes asesinados con misiles en el Caribe no eran del Tren de Aragua, que nadie quizás conozca aquí su nombre, ni de Hamas. Eran caribeños, posiblemente colombianos, y si fueron colombianos, con el perdón de quienes dominan las Naciones Unidas, debe abrirse proceso penal contra esos funcionarios que son de los Estados Unidos. Así se incluye al funcionario mayor que dio la orden, el presidente Trump. $1.200.000.000.000 son en 1 o 2 ceros, y otro millón morirá de norteamericanos por el fentanilo. Trump no habla de democracia. La migración es una excusa para que una sociedad rica, blanca y racista se crea la raza superior y no mire que sus dirigentes la llevan con toda la humanidad al abismo de su propia extinción. La gasolina, venenos totales de la vida, no pudo solucionarlo. No es cierto, y me disculpa Macron, tiempos de la extinción por la crisis climática, el fentanilo. He cambiado la fracasada y violenta guerra contra las drogas por una eficaz política antinarcotraficante, que es diferente. No confundir la sustancia muerta con la persona codiciosa. Pero necesitan violencia para dominar a Colombia y América Latina. Necesitan destruir el diálogo e imponer y lanzar misiles asesinos sobre jóvenes pobres en el Caribe. La política antidrogas no es para detener la cocaína que llega a los Estados Unidos. La política antidrogas es para dominar los pueblos del sur en general, que dejan de estar unidos hoy ante la tiranía, de mal en peor, cuando la mayoría de los narcotraficantes son rubios y de ojos azules y guardan sus enormes fortunas en los bancos más grandes del mundo y no viven en Bogotá, ni en Caracas, ni en el Caribe, ni en Gaza, sino que viven en Miami y son vecinos del presidente de los Estados Unidos, y viven en Nueva York y en París y Madrid y en Dubái. Viven donde hay lujo, no pobreza, de rebelión y de existencia. Gracias, muy amables.
Yürürlüğe girdi. Birleşmiş Milletler Kurulu Filistin devletini tanıyacağını açıklayan tüm ülkelere teşekkür ediyor. Henüz bu kararı almayan devletleri ise bir an önce harekete geçmeye çağırıyorum. Görevimiz sistemi terk etmek değil. Özellikle Gazze'de gözlerimizin önünde 700 günü aşkın bir süredir soykırım devam ediyor. Biz toplantı halindeyken dahi Gazze'de şu anda siviller katlediliyor. Gazze'de ölen sivillerin sayısı 65 bini geçti. Bundan 80 yıl önce San Francisco'da imzalandı ve Gazze'de bir savaş yoktur. Gazze'de iki taraftan söz edilemez. Gazze'de bir yanda elinde en modern, en öldürücü silahlar olan düzenli ordu, diğer tarafta ise masum siviller, masum çocuklar var. Bu terörle mücadele değildir. Bu 7 Ekim olayı öne sürülerek yürütülen bir işgal, tehcir, sürgün, soykırım, daha doğrusu bir toplu kıyım politikasıdır. Gazze'de ateşkes bir an önce sağlanmalı, saldırılar durmalı, insani yardımların engelsiz girişine mutlaka izin verilmelidir. Soykırım kadrosunun uluslararası hukuka hesap vermesi temin edilmelidir. İnşallah bu mutlaka gerçekleşecektir.
Excellencies, thank you France and Saudi Arabia for convening us together in New York today. Norway will continue to support the Palestinian government, including through emergency funds we are mobilizing with other donors. And we continue to call on Israel to release the tax revenues owed to Palestine. These revenues are desperately needed to fund schools, hospitals, and the police. So, friends, this is a time to stand up and be counted. As defenders of human dignity and human rights, as defenders of a world with firm laws and rules, as defenders of peaceful resolutions. For 80 years, the UN has been a family of nations. The state of Palestine belongs to this family.
We do not claim this recognition alone will change the course of the conflict, but we hope it will contribute restoring momentum to the political horizon that has been lost. Peace is not simply declared. Real peace, lasting peace is built.
I am also aware of the opinion that recognizing the state of Palestine somehow amounts to a victory for Hamas. A two-state solution, however, is the worst possible outcome for Hamas. It is not what they want to see. They want to see Israel wiped off the map. Malta and our allies want to see Hamas wiped out. We must never forget that Hamas openly and violently opposed all the previous efforts at peace.
Monsieur le Président, Royal Highness,
we Europeans will set up a dedicated instrument for Gaza's reconstruction in coordination with other donors' efforts. Gaza must be rebuilt, the Palestinian economy must be relaunched, and I invite all of you to join in the effort to make this happen.
Interrupt the cycle of violence. The message from New York, our position is clear. Italy is against the occupation of Gaza Strip and against any idea of displacement of its population. Italy condemns also the recent attack against Doha, but we encourage Doha to continue in the crucial effort to mediate together with Egypt and the United States to reach a ceasefire.
This international consensus is a strong barrier against Israeli expansionist policies under the guise of the Greater Israel myth. This international consensus is the most powerful response to the illusions of the Israeli occupation and its belief that it alone holds the power to veto the establishment of the Palestinian state. The states that recognize the Palestinian state today, they should also have the duty of protecting Palestinians against systematic killing and the Palestinians against punitive measures that undermine future solutions.
We've gathered here because the time has come. The time has come to free the 48 hostages detained by Hamas. The time has come to stop war, the bombing in Gaza, the massacres and the fleeing people. The time has come because there's a pressing urgency everywhere.
The ferocity and brutality of that attack, the hunt for unarmed civilians, prompted Israel to a reaction that was at first legitimate, because every state and every people has the right to defend itself. But the response to aggression must always respect the principle of proportionality. This applies to individuals and all the more so to states. And Israel has exceeded that limit with a large-scale war disproportionately involving the Palestinian civilian population. And it is in crossing this limit that the Jewish state has ended up violating humanitarian norms, causing a massacre among civilians. This choice, which Italy has repeatedly deemed unacceptable, will lead us to vote in favor of some of the sanctions proposed by the European Commission against Israel. But we do not side with those who heap all the blame for what is happening in Gaza on Israel, because it was Hamas that unleashed the war. It is Hamas that could end the suffering of Palestinians by immediately releasing all the hostages. It is Hamas that seems intent on thriving on the suffering of the people it claims to represent. Israel must free itself from the trap of this war. It must do so for the history of the Jewish people, for its democracy, for the innocent, and for the universal values of the free world of which it is part. And to end the war, concrete solutions are needed. Peace is not built only with appeals or with ideological proclamations embraced with enthusiasm by those who in truth do not want peace. Peace is built with patience, with courage, with reasonableness. The children of Gaza, like those Italy is proudly receiving and treating in its hospitals, are asking for answers that can improve their condition. And to that we are committed.
President Emmanuel Macron, President of the French Republic, His Highness Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud, Foreign Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, as the co-chairs of this distinguished meeting. Co-chairs, Excellencies, distinguished representatives of the United Nations, I wish to extend our deepest appreciation and highest regards to the governments of France and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for their leadership in convening this important deliberation. It is with a heavy heart that we recall the ongoing unbearable tragedy in Gaza. Thousands of innocent lives, many of them women and children, have been killed. Famine looms. Human catastrophe is unfolding with our eyes. We condemn all acts of violence against innocent civilians. Therefore, it is today with dignity that we gather to take our historical responsibility. This responsibility speaks not only to the fate of Palestine, but also to the future of Israel, and also the very credibility of the United Nations. We condemn all violence against innocent civilians. Therefore, Indonesia once again reiterates its commitment to the two-state solution in the Palestine problem. Only this two-state solution will lead to peace. We must guarantee statehood for Palestine, but Indonesia also declares that once Israel recognizes the independence and the statehood of Palestine, Indonesia will immediately recognize the state of Israel, and we will support all guarantees for the security of Israel. The New York Declaration has provided a peaceful and just pathway towards peace. Statehood must mean peace. Recognition must mean a real chance towards lasting peace. It must be a real peace for all sides, for all parties. Distinguished Excellencies, we commend the leading states of the world that have taken this principled step. France, Canada, Australia, the United Kingdom, Portugal, and many other leading countries of the world have taken a step on the right side of history. The recognition of the state of Palestine is the right step on the right side of history. To those who have yet to act, we say, history does not stand still. We must recognize Palestine now. We must stop the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza. Ending the war must be our utmost priority. We must overcome hatred, fear. We must overcome suspicion. We must achieve the peace that is necessary for the human family. We are ready to take our part in this journey towards peace. We are willing to provide peacekeeping forces.
Excellencies, whilst the recognition of a Palestinian state is urgent, it is all the more urgent that there exist a Palestinian people in the state that we're claiming to recognise, and regrettably the Palestinian people are being annihilated. For this reason, in the name of reason, in the name of international law, and in the name of human dignity, we have to stop this slaughter now. At this precise moment, bombs continue to fall indiscriminately on the civilian population in Gaza. Hunger is killing women, older persons and children. Today, we take a crucial step forward in calling for a two-state solution at this conference. But let us be lucidly clear, there is no solution possible when the population of one of those two states is the victim of a genocide. We are all well aware that the only hope that civilians in Gaza have is that of knowing that the world does not forget them, and this conference nurtures that hope. It is an act of moral rebellion, an uprising against indifference and forgetfulness. Let us make this conference too a collective commitment to halting brutality and to paving the way for peace. Excellencies, this conference marks a monumental step forward, but it is not the end of the road. It only is and can only be the beginning. As such, I want to make two proposals. First, the state of Palestine must be a fully fledged member of the United Nations. As soon as possible, we must conclude the procedure to admit the state of Palestine to this organisation on an equal footing with the rest of states herein. Secondly, we have to immediately adopt measures to halt the brutality and make peace possible. Spain of course, will adopt a plan with measures to halt the genocide in Gaza. We will continue to take brave measures shoulder to shoulder with anyone who wishes to join us, because Gaza needs it. Excellencies, history will judge us, and its verdict will be brutal with those that perpetrated this slaughter and with those who remain silent or turned a blind eye. We need to take a step forward so that reason can prevail, for diplomacy, for the respect for international law, for IHL, for common sense, and the most basic values that we hold as humankind. Let us make the 22nd of September the day that we remember as the first major step forward. Today, more than ever before, we cannot be indifferent to injustice. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellencies, President Macron and Prince Faisal. I stand before you today beneath the emblem of the United Nations to confirm the historic decision of the British government to recognise the State of Palestine. This step, alongside friends and partners, reflects a long-standing truth that statehood is the inalienable right of the Palestinian people, and that two states is the only path to security and lasting peace for Israelis and Palestinians alike. But it also reflects a grave reality. The two-state solution that for decades has commanded global support is in profound peril. From continued bloodshed, man-made famine, terrorism and hostage-taking, settlement expansion and settler violence. And Hamas terrorists continue to hold hostages seized in the barbaric attack of October 7th, prolonging the unimaginable anguish of their families. And in Gaza, the unbearable humanitarian catastrophe worsens as the Netanyahu government chooses to escalate war and hold back aid. Children dying of starvation while food rots at the border. And settlement expansion threatens the very viability of a Palestinian state. The two-state solution risks disappearing beneath the rubble. That is what extremists on all sides want, but we refuse to let hope be lost. Recognition is born of urgency and principle, alongside our unwavering support for the security of Israel and its people. This pathway is the opposite of Hamas's hateful vision, and this process around recognition has helped cement the rejection of Hamas across the Arab world, alongside new reforms to the Palestinian Authority, because there can be no role for Hamas in the future governance of Palestine. But recognition must be a spur, not a substitute for urgent action. A ceasefire now, the release of all hostages, the restoration of aid, and a lasting framework for peace. Recognition is about the future, but it is rooted in our past. 75 years ago, Britain was rightly proud to recognise the State of Israel. But the promise of upholding Palestinian rights has gone unfulfilled. For decades, my country supported a two-state solution, but only recognised one state. That changes now, as we join more than 150 member states in recognising the State of Palestine and protecting the pathway to peace. Thank you.
Ar-Rahman Friends, I thank France and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for convening this meeting. We meet here at the UN, where every country, every people are promised a voice. We meet to raise our voices for peace and for justice, for the only path to ensuring security for the Middle East and beyond, the two-state solution. This year marks the 80th anniversary of the United Nations. Almost every year since, our countries have met within these halls to decry the injustice and violence of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict
and seek solutions. And now, for nearly 2 years, we have been witnesses to a horrific level of bloodshed and destruction in Gaza. It stands in flagrant violations of international laws and the values of our shared humanity, and it threatens the foundations of future peace. The war in Gaza must end. Humanitarian aid must flow unhindered, and all illegal and unilateral measures in the West Bank and settler violence must also end. A clear choice stands before us. On one side, to continue down the dark and bloody path of war and conflict, or to take the path of peace through the two-state solution. And today the world is taking a significant step on the path to achieving just and lasting peace. This global rally behind the two-state solution sends a clear message. The conflict must end. The two-state solution is the only path to the just and lasting peace that fulfills the rights of all our peoples. We thank all countries that have recognized the state of Palestine, and now we must work to stop all measures that undermine the two-state solution. We must make sure that today is a step in a continued effort to realize it. As we work on ending the war in Gaza, we must also do all we can to restore hope. The commitment so many countries are making to a future of peace today begins that long, difficult, but essential process. Thank you.
May I begin by thanking France and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for convening us today, and I commend them for their leadership on this most vital of issues. Those of us gathered here know that the only viable option to deliver a peaceful future for Israel and for Palestine is a two-state solution. At this most critical juncture, we must continue to put our full political weight behind it. The situation on the ground has rarely looked so bleak. A just and lasting peace seems further away than it ever has. But in our own peace process in Northern Ireland, to a conflict of 24 years' duration, we recognised that even in the darkest of days, we had a duty as leaders to keep the flame of hope alive and to keep talking. The immense suffering of the Palestinian population in Gaza over the past 2 years has been an affront to the world. It has horrified people around the world, nowhere more than in Ireland, where people have been moved to sorrow and to anger. What happened to Israel on the 7th of October was a horrific and brutal attack on an innocent civilian population, and Hamas must be held to account for its actions. It was an appalling act of crime, war crime. But it cannot justify what has happened since. More than 65,000 people killed in Gaza. Horrifically, more than 20,000 of them children. The use of food as a weapon of war, with scarcity becoming hunger, becoming famine. Hospitals attacked, homes and schools destroyed, thousands of years of culture wiped out. People shot as they desperately seek food for their families. Doctors, aid workers, journalists targeted and killed. We have reached a point where what has been credibly described as a genocide is being carried out in front of the eyes of the world. It would be easy to just despair, but we must not. Gaza must move us to action. And there are still humanitarian workers, medics, journalists determined to do their best for the people of Gaza and for Palestine. They are doing so with the most extraordinary courage and without regard to their own safety. To honour them and the Palestinian people, it is right that we as political leaders play our part too. And the only way to end the appalling cycle of violence is to forge a political path. And the only credible destination is a two-state solution, with Israel and Palestine living side by side in peace and security. And that is why Ireland last year, with Spain, Norway and Slovenia, recognised the State of Palestine. I commend those who have taken the decision to recognise the State of Palestine this week, and I strongly urge those who have yet to do so to give it serious consideration. We know that there are people, including in the Israeli government, who are working daily to make that outcome impossible. In addition to the destruction of Gaza, settlements are expanding every day, and illegal settlers in the West Bank are increasingly emboldened and militant. If we do not move now to protect the two-state solution, if we do not work to build a process through which it can be achieved, there may never be another opportunity. That must not be our legacy to future generations. Ireland is ready to play its part, and I look forward to our continuing steadfast cooperation. Thank you very much indeed.